but like, then you got the estimateds, but then, you're trying to do right by the estimateds, but the estimateds got to get all jacked up now as a result of all these dates. Then you got to try to balance your cash flow. That's my buddy, Dave Ishida. By the way, the reason why Dave was gracious enough to share some time with us on this little coping with the COVID series we're hacking together is because there's a little thing out there called taxes, Dave. You might know a little something about it. As a matter of fact, you are an expert in said domain. And so I wanted to get an opportunity to get you in here because there's a few things going on in the tax regard. So Dave came up with his hot list. These are his top 4. There's probably 44, right? As there always is with taxes. But Dave, get the party started here, man. What's the number one most important thing folks got to know about the taxes deal fallout from the COVIDs?
I think as I've been thinking about talking to you, Jesse, and everybody that I'm talking to, I've really been thinking that the overarching thing is patience. I say it that way because what I've been experiencing is that over the last 6 weeks, the tremendous amount of change that's been happening seems some days like it's almost hourly, that you learn something, a change in tax law, and then the moment you learn it, it's changed. We had the paycheck protection, the PPP loans from the Small Business Administration, and they were almost gone immediately. And so now there's a round 2 of those, and those are, according to what I'm learning, about $100 billion left as of a couple days ago. And we just finished the weekend. So there's not all that much money left in that program. So if you're thinking of applying, apply. But yeah, really patience around change and around not being able to get access to, for example, the IRS, because for the most part, the IRS is shut down. They've extended.
Yeah. How does that work? Like, well, actually, that was almost a sidebar. I don't want to get you derailed, but maybe we'll do an episode 2 on that, man. So sorry, keep on your flow.
That's all right. So, but really to answer, I think the question that you might be asking is, how does that work? How does something as huge as the IRS really shut down? Well, the thing is, They have thousands of employees in old buildings. There's no new IRS buildings anywhere. There's thousands of employees. And so to the extent that they're able to work remotely, they're working remotely, just like any other company or group. But there's a whole lot that gets done on paper that's really difficult to do remotely, mostly because of privacy and security issues. And so if there's an IRS employee, they can't take somebody's tax return home because there's no security around that. And that's a lot of why a lot of IRS is shut down. So they can do their internal work remotely, but they can't really serve the public remotely. So one of the things they did was, and I think this might be unprecedented, they extended both the filing deadline and the payment deadline. And any year, April 15th comes around and you haven't finished your tax return, you can file an extension and you get all the way until October 15th to file the return, but your taxes are always due April 15th. This year, what happened was they first extended the deadline to file the return without any extension to July 15th. And now they've also extended the deadline to pay those taxes due July 15th. And so on July 15th, I can still file an extension and still have until October 15th. But if I don't file an extension, I have until July 15th to file, which is great if I need that time. A lot of people don't need it. People need more time to pay than they need to file, which is great to be able to write a check in July, send money digitally, however you're going to do it. But the thing that's occurring to me is if I file my taxes now and I have a refund coming, I want my refund. I need that refund to put food on my table.
Yeah, good point.
And so if I do have a refund coming, I want it sooner than later. If I owe money, I want to know how much I owe now, so that I have between now and July 15th to figure out how much can I pay on time, if not all of it, and how much am I going to pay late, and what will that mean? So the more time I give myself for that purpose, the better.
Yeah, so I love how you started this off, just to synthesize already, the patience thing, because it's an external locus of control, right? Not just the COVID by itself, not only just the effect by itself, but also categorically the IRS being shut down, but then the responsibility though that we still have, in these regards. So, one of the things that comes up for me, in our industry in San Diego, from what I understand, to a great percentage is a vis-a-vis from maybe the rest of the country, is there's a lot of independent contractors out there. There's a lot of people that strategically don't file on time. They push the deal out, and there's a whole back, deal on that, separate show again. But then you got the estimateds, but then, you're trying to do right by the estimateds, but the estimateds got to get all jacked up now as a result of all these dates. Then you got to try to balance your cash flow because, if it's, I guess it's a larger thing about budgeting and stuff, because it's you don't want to give it too quick to the IRS, even though if you think that's the deal, because maybe you still got to make rent, you know what I mean? So it's really simple. It's like a fact, hey, it's pushed out, cool, thumbs up. But then there's more once you unpack that, right? And actually makes it to the dinner table.
There's a little bit more reality to that than meets the eye. And that's what you're saying. If I have a tax to pay, if I have to pay taxes normally in April and I have to pay estimated taxes, I'm going to pay those estimated taxes to IRS in April, June, September, and January.
Right.
Plus I'm going to pay my taxes in April. So April typically hurts. All right. It's a big month to pay,
right.
pay out. Well, now I can pay my taxes in July. I can pay my first two estimated taxes that would have been due April and June. I can pay those in July now. So if I wait, I'm going to pay my taxes and my first two estimated taxes in July after presumably a few months of not earning to my
right.
So the pain I will feel in July is much worse than the pain I've ever felt in April.
Right.
Right. And so what I've been advising my clients is, to the extent possible, keep the original schedule. File your taxes in April, make your first payment in April, make your second payment in June. And normally if you make your second payment in July instead of June, you'll have a little bit of penalty, and this time you won't. So that's nice, but still try for June is what I've been telling people. And it's not even tax related. It's just sort of trying to maintain a sense of normalcy during a time that I think none of us really have ever lived through anything like this. So trying to do the things that keep things more normal than not normal, I think is helpful overall. That's not really tax stuff. It's more just normal stuff, like life stuff.
Yeah, human life stuff, and it's all interconnected. And I love you set the frame correctly, which is to the degree that you actually can, right? So, okay, so fair. So I feel like we slapped the table on that. If someone's got a follow-up, I'm sure they can hit a comment, but what would be next on that list of four? Let's kind of do, a service and hit maybe the top 20% of each of these, because obviously there's a whole chasm to bury out the entire thread.
The other thing is something that people who do what I do, we call it the stimulus payment. The IRS calls it the economic impact payment. It's the same thing. It's the $1,200 payment per person that you've heard about, and some people have received. And there's a lot of confusion around it. And what it is, it's actually a 2020 tax credit that if you qualify, you get on your 2020 tax return. But you don't file your 2020 tax return until 2021. And the government really wants us to have cash now versus cash in 2021. So they are doing something called an advanced credit. What that means is they're looking at your 2019 tax return. And if based on your 2019 tax return you qualify, you get a payment. But if you haven't filed your 2019 taxes because the deadline's not till July and we're only in May, then they're going to look at your 2018 taxes. And if on your 2018 taxes you qualify, then you're going to get a payment now. If in either one of those years you use direct deposit to get a refund, they're going to use that same bank information to send you your refund.